Okay, so what does it mean, partial page update? So whenever we are doing some changes in the PCF file, right? Let's say imagine a scenario wherein there are four fields in a PCF file or in a screen, right? And you want, based on the first field, you want to change the value of the second screen, the second field. Suppose, let's say there is a Boolean field in the first at the first place, right? Uh,
Mhm.
and you have to provide yes and no
Mhm.
in that. So if you will give yes, the second field value will automatically be populated. If you fill no with it, then the further fields which are already there, right, which are defined beneath that particular field, Boolean field, would be set to some other value. So this is a dynamic behavior, right, which we have in the uh, PCF file. So if we want to create such kind of dynamic behavior, means dependent fields, if we want to create, so in that case we will use this concept of post on change and client reflection, which we combinedly say that this is the topic of partial page update. So let's take an example from here. Okay, I'm opening an account here.
Mhm.
So if you'll go to the detail screen, you will see there are so many fields listed out here, right?
Mhm.
And uh, all are string fields, input text. Okay,
Mhm.
so there is
Mhm.
no Boolean field. So you can see here there is a first name and the last
Mhm.
name field, and there is a full name field also, right?
Mhm.
So based on the first name and the last name, this full name can be calculated, right? So this full
Mhm.
name field should be always in the listening mode, and
Mhm.
it would be listening for the first name and the last name. So as soon as I will give the first name and the last name, my full name will automatically be populated. So it is
Mhm.
dependent on these two fields, right? So
Mhm.
this field is not having any dynamic structure. This field is having a or this field is not having any static structure. It is having a dynamic structure. So
Mhm.
if we want to configure such kind of behavior, right, we will use partial page update.
Mhm.
And in partial page updates also, there are two methods how we achieve this. I'll write the methods here. So we are discussing about the partial page update. Okay. And the two methods which I'm talking about is post on change and client reflection. Okay. So these are the two methods how we can achieve this.
Mhm.
Post on change, what is the difference in the post on change and client reflection? Post on change is configured on the triggering field. Configured on the triggering field. Okay. Let's suppose I'll give you an example. I'll open this. Okay. So what are the triggering fields in this? In this example, first name and last name and full name. What are the triggering fields?
First
First
name and
name,
last.
last name. Yes, these are the triggering fields. And what is a listening field? Full name is the listening field.
Mhm.
So that is the difference. It your post on change is configured in the triggering field, and this has to be configured if we want to use client reflection, right? So we have to configure the listening field, but we can only use one, right? So where we use post on change and where we use client reflection. Okay, so let's suppose say we have a targeted approach. Suppose we have a targeted approach. Let's suppose in this situation, right, here we can set we have this first name and the target, we have the target. where this triggering widget should be appearing. As soon as we will enable the post on change on this field, right, first name, it will announce its value in the entire PCF file. Okay. But if we specify the target ID of the field, that it has to announce only to this specific field. So we can do that in the triggering widget. So I'll show you. So this is the detail screen, right? So person summary screen is the one where we have to do the change. Person detail summary. AB person details page. Okay, yeah. So you can see here first name, right? So you have first name. If you go to the post on, so you have to enable the post on change property here. Okay, post on change you need to enable. But I think for this purpose they have not done in the post on change. They have enabled the client reflection for this. So what I will do, I'll remove the client reflect. I'll disable the client reflection here. Okay, just give me a second. Okay, let me take you through the client reflection only. So client reflection, as I said, right, it is configured on the listening widget, correct? So listening widget is full name. So I have to go to the what are the steps involved in the reflection. I have to go to the reflection tab first, then click on the enable client reflection. Okay, and in triggering IDs, I need to specify the IDs which it is going to listen, like first name. So these are the widget IDs. Is last name and the first name, these IDs. So it will be listening. And okay, after listening, what would be the value? Okay, it has listened to the first name. The first name, the value of the first name would be automatically picked up with value 1. Okay, and the last name is automatically picked up with value 2. Okay, if we suppose we have some other one more field, middle name. Okay, so that value will be picked up as value 3. Okay, so accordingly it will increase with value prefix, the value of these fields. Okay, so we have to calculate the full name, right? So what we have to do, we have to just concatenate these two strings, the value of the full first name and the value of the last name. So it will concatenate and it will show the results. Okay, and it will be stored in the full name property, which will be there in the database. This is how dynamic behavior we are able to reach through client reflection. So there are more examples for this. Is the first
So
time
why are we giving the value? Can you show the value? So
yeah,
since we are calculating this in the
we are
properties,
not defining it anywhere. It will as soon as you will give the triggering IDs, right, the values of these triggering IDs would be aliased like this with
yeah,
this these are the variables name.
I understand this one. Go to the properties section.
Okay, yeah,
So here, why are we giving this value?
to store the value, dynamic value. So you can see here through client reflection, it is gonna calculate the value dynamically. Okay, the first name
So
plus last name.
full name is stored in the database.
Yes.
But why do we want to store that full name? I mean, in database, if it's a calculated value, it's always calculated, right? We won't.
Generally, this is just an example of client reflection, but in real time, how this is done is using virtual property, because this has not to be stored in database. But I'll tell you where we would need the client reflection. This I have shown you by because I'm giving you an example how the client reflection works. But in real time, client reflection works. Suppose we have we want to generate the premium, right? And we have 4 coverages. For each coverage, I have different premium amount. Okay.
Mhm.
And in the last field, in the total field, I need to create a summation of the all the premium amounts or some complex calculation. Okay,
Mhm.
with whatever fields I have given in the input fields from the UI, I need to calculate something. Okay,
Mhm.
so that calculation I can mention here. Okay, this calculation I can mention here, and whatever value comes up after the calculation will be stored in this database. It's not only because it's not mandatory that okay, for this particular scenario we have to do it like this. If you don't want, suppose client doesn't want to store the full name right in the database,
Mhm.
what we can do is we can create a virtual property. We'll not use the client reflection. So that will be I'll be discussing in the enhancement classes, in the enhancement section, how we have to create the virtual properties.
Okay.
Okay, but to make you understand the concept, I have shown you this example, and this example I have used in some of my other classes as well. So that's why it was readily available. That's why I've shown you.
Okay.
But uh, you are correct. Full name doesn't need to be stored in the database because we have first name and the last name already present. But let's suppose say, just take an example. Means let's suppose we have a complex. This is just a simple calculation, right? First name
Mhm.
plus last name. If suppose there are multiple fields which I need to give the reflection value, and I need to calculate there is a complex logic which I need to calculate, right?
Mhm.
So I don't want to calculate it every time whenever I need that in my UI, right? So I want that field to be stored, calculate for a single time, and to store in a database. In that scenario, I can use the client reflection, right? This is a simple calculation. But let's
Mhm.
suppose say if there is a complex calculation with these values, right? So in that case, storing is necessary, right?
Mhm.
Because it will impact my application performance also if I'll perform each and every calculation separately
Yeah.
every time I call that.
Got it.
So that is why we are using the client reflection.
Mhm.
Generally, client reflection is used to calculate the data of a field depending on the other fields. Okay,
Mhm.
but let's I don't want to calculate some data. Rather, I want to change the properties based on these properties. So what I need to do? Let's suppose take an example. First name. I want
Mhm.
such logic in my application that if first name user doesn't have the first name, okay, then the last name will be this middle name field should not be shown in the UI. Okay,
Mhm.
so we are not changing the value here of the middle name. What we are doing, we are changing the visibility of the middle name. Okay,
Mhm.
so the fields, suppose editability, requiredness, okay, visibility, and
Mhm. Mhm.
availability. These are the four fields which I can manage based on the behavior of another field. Okay, suppose first name is null, and if I have a requirement that if first name is null, I don't want to show this field. Or if suppose first name is null, I want to make middle name required. Okay,
Mhm.
means it's a required field. If it is first name is present, it's not null, then middle name is not necessarily required. Okay,
Mhm.
so here I'm not changing the data, but I'm changing the properties of the middle name based on the first name. So in
Mhm.
those cases, I will use post on change.
Mhm.
Okay, so post on. So these fields are used for dynamic properties. So you can see here when the in this screen inspection required is no, there is no inspection date. Okay, here in this screen.
Mhm.
When we change it to yes, inspection date appears, right? Between license you can see here the next field is license, but here the next field is inspection date. So we have changed the value, and based on this change, the visibility of this inspection date is impacted. So in this condition, we will use the post on change. So it will, in the backend, it will work as an AJAX call to the application server. So in suppose if you are familiar with the Java, it's similar to the AJAX call, okay, which happens in the JSON. Means it will transfer the data between the application layer and the UI layer in the JSON format. But we don't need to dig into too much of technicality, how it will send the data in the JSON to the application layer and get back the data, and how it will show. We just want to know that, okay, how it will be configured. Okay, we have to do some configurations, and then we are good to go. That's why we have this application suite. We don't have to do anything from scratch. So these are the 4 fields which can be changed: visibility, editability, requiredness, and editability. And we call these changes, suppose up the properties of these fields are changed, right? We call it as lender re-render change. Okay, lender re-rendered for the layout, re-rendered for the page. So because the page layout is changing, right? In this case, no data is committed because data is not changing, right? Only the page layout is changing. No data is committed. But in client reflection, data is committed. So let me give you an example of post on change. How the post on occur. So let's suppose say I'll give you an example of this only, first name and the middle name. So what I'll do, as I said, right, post on change based on this first name, my middle name would be required. Okay. So when I have to enable the post on change on the triggering widget, that is first name. So I will enable the triggering with post on change, and then I need to give these 3 values here. I'll tell you what does this mean and what we have to provide you. In target, I need to provide the target property. To which target property I need to define, I need to announce its value. So I need to give the ID of the target property.
Okay. First name.
Let me check what is the error here. Cannot reflect of trigger first name, since it does a okay. Actually, we have already defined the reflection tab, right? We are using this first name in the reflection here. So that's why we can't use post on change on this. Okay. So what we have to do is I need to give another example to you. Okay. Let me see what example I can give. Salutation. Okay, and I have 2 fields, salutation and prefix. Okay, these 2 fields seem to be like same only, right? Salutation also be storing Mr., Mrs. something, and prefix also happens to be same, Mr., Mrs. So why to have 2 fields? Okay, so we can have only 1 field itself available. So if salutation is null, okay, then we will not be showing prefix. If salutation is not null, sorry, if salutation is not null, then we'll not be showing prefix. If salutation is null, then we will be showing the prefix. Let me try to see whether it is editable or not. This field is right now not editable, so I have to make it editable first. Okay, then only I can make it null or not null, right? I'll load this change. I have a separate lab for partial page update as well. So I'll share it with you and you can practice that along with the previous labs.
Okay.
It's taking too much time. Okay, meanwhile, what I'll do the changes here as well. Okay, so I'll enable the post on change on this
Mhm.
and target property. I have to give them the prefix, right? So I'll use this prefix. Okay, I'll tell you about these fields as well, but let me first give you the basic case. Okay,
Mhm.
where and here I need to make it unavailable if this particular field is not is available, right? So what I'll do is I'll go to the visibility condition. Okay, and you can see the name property here.
Mhm.
I need to call the same. I need to put the condition here, right? As AB person dot name not equal to null. So when this particular property, this name property is not equal to null, then only this will be visible. This will return true. Okay. Any doubt up till here?
No.
Yeah.
So on salutation, you created a post on change,
Yes.
and
And
in
I'm
properties you defined visible if that is not equal to none.
yes, in the prefix properties. I need
Mhm.
to change the visibility condition of this prefix, right? I need to make it visible. If visibility, if this condition is true, then only prefix is visible.
Mhm.
This condition comes from this AB
Mhm.
contact as person dot name. Now you can have a question that why to enable the post on change on this? This can be done directly also, right? This can be done directly also, but in that case, the value would be picked up from the database side.
Mhm.
Okay, it would take more time. But here, the when we enable the uh, when we enable this post on change, right? It won't be taken from the database side. Okay,
Mhm.
it will be taken from the same page itself and from the
Mhm.
client side. Okay,
Okay.
these are the client side changes. So it will not trigger uh, means the value to be fetched from the database because it will take more time to refresh the page, right?
Mhm.
So that's why to enable it to take less time, because we already have this particular property available in the UI, then why to go to the database again and check it, rather than we can check it from this particular PCF file itself, right? So that's
Yeah.
why it will take less time. That's why we have enabled post on chain and we are checking like this.
Okay.
Okay, my PCF is enabled, so I'll edit it. Go to the details screen. So you can see here right now. Okay, what I'll do is okay, haven't loaded my application, right? After the post, I'll do Alt Shift L. I will make it this prefix field is editable or not. It is also editable and salutation is also editable.
Mhm.
Okay. So I'll go to the details screen. And you can see here, prefix is not there
Mhm.
because this condition is not satisfying. Okay. This field is not equal to null. Okay.
Mhm.
I'll edit it. If I'll add something here, you can see prefixes available. Actually, I have done it other way around. I need to make it equal to, right? As per
Yeah,
the,
equal to null, yeah.
yeah, my bad. So I'll again do it. So now today I'm planning to show you this post on change and client reflection concepts, and also uh, about the Gosu queries. Okay, how do we write queries in Gosu language? I'll click on edit. You can see the prefix has gone because I have given the salutation.
Mhm.
Okay, I'll update it. What happened? Just a second. So the prefix has gone, but if I'm updating it, it's not updating. Edit, cancel it. Let me check the default value. None. I'll do one thing. I'll put one more condition here,
Mhm.
or equal to. Sometimes it takes empty string also instead of null.
Mhm.
Hmm, I'll go to the details. Thing is happening. I need to check what's happening. Why it is not saving it? It's going. It's not taking it. But okay, let me make it uneditable to see. I think I need to restart my server to make it work properly. Mm,
I thought you made it editable as false, right?
Yes, I have made it editable as false, but still prefix is shown. So I'm just checking why this is shown actually. Acha, visibility condition, it will be visible when this is null, but it is false because this is not null, right? This condition will be false. So visibility will not be there for that particular field.
You're looking for dot name, yeah, which is salutation, which is
This
null.
only, right? This is the salutation. Oh, something is wrong. I think I need to restart.
ID would be salutation, right? When you're
No,
referring
here
that in
in
prefix.
post on in this, see here in post on chain we have, this is a triggering widget. So we have to give the listening widget ID right here.
Okay.
So we have to give the ID of prefix here.
Mm-hmm.
This one. Okay. Then only it will be. But my doubt is why it is not picking up. Okay, no worries. I'll check it. Let me try to restart my server. Sometimes it's not loaded properly. Alt Shift L. Okay. So meanwhile, what I'll do is I'll go run you through the PPTs. Okay. So where all we can change the post on chain. So for post on chain, you can see here, this is the property which we need to enable. And we need to specify the target property. Okay. As we have specified here. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see here, this is, they are also having the same configuration. So they are also changing the visibility condition. So they have this inspection required field. Okay. Based on this inspection required field, they are changing the visibility of the inspection date field. Okay, so they have enabled the post on change on the inspection required field, and in the target property, if you will not provide the target property, right, your this inspection required field would announce its value to each and every widget of the particular PCF file. Okay.
Got it.
If you will specify the target field, then it will only announce the value to that particular widget itself. It will not announce its value to another widgets. So that's why we do it. But it's not necessary. If we want to avoid, we can avoid it. Okay.
Got it.
So here you can see in the inspection date field in the properties tab, they are defining the visibility property. An AB
Mm-hmm.
contact as AB company dot inspection required. If this is equal to true, then this field is visible.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's how they have configured. We can specify the target property, and this is for the best practices also. So if we don't give the target property, right, and it will announce its value to each and every field, and each and every field would be listening to it. So that would have some performance issues, right? So that's why, not to have the performance issues, this is recommended to specify the target property for
Got it.
which field we want to do it. Okay. Disable on enter. Disable post on enter. So we have to specify a Boolean condition here in this field. If this Boolean condition is true, okay,
Mm-hmm.
it as soon as the page refreshes, right, it will check for this property, disable post on enter. If the Boolean condition is true, whatever mentioned in this particular tab, right, then post on change is disabled for that particular, which for that file. So you can see we have check mark and enable the property, right? But if we have some requirement that for some scenario we don't want to enable the post on change, so we can write our logic here in disable post on enter. So when
Mm-hmm.
this property will be true, this post on change will be disabled, and it won't allow announce its values anywhere. Okay. So that's why we use disable post on enter. So here you can
So
see
is the disable post on change that variable? Where do you define that variable, or is it the variable is
it can be method,
field
it
name?
can be variable also. It can be also a method which you can write it in the classes, goes to classes. So
Got it.
suppose let's say, and it can be, suppose there is a PCF file, okay,
Mhm.
and there is a code section in the PCF file. So
Mhm.
here you might have a Boolean method,
Mhm.
okay. So let me copy this method here and just paste it, and I'll mark the return type as Boolean,
Mhm.
and I will return false here, and just to show you, okay.
Mhm.
So this is some logic which I have written. So I'm returning true based on some logic and returning false, okay. I'll change the method name. Okay, so what I can do is I can call this method here in the post on change property. I
Got it.
can call this method here.
Mhm.
So this method will return true or false, and based on this condition, this proper post on change will be enabled or disabled. Okay. It can be a database field also. Suppose we want to do it based on a database field which is present in NAB contact.
Mhm.
Okay, so we can have it in N like this. We can, but its return type should be Boolean. That we need to take in have it in.
Got it.
This is, I can have any of the Boolean property from here.
So when defining an entity,
Yeah,
you don't have Boolean, right? It's a bit.
bit. Yeah, when I'm saying Boolean, I mean to say bit only.
No, but
And here
in
also
PCF
Boolean
when
and
you
bit
have,
are same.
yeah, but in PCF file when you hit
Mhm,
alt space or whatever after AB contact, if you do,
mhm. Okay,
it's showing as Boolean, right?
control plus space. Yes, yes. So it means Boolean means bit only. So you can see here we have to define int, but here you can see it is integer. So
Okay.
it will show us with the full name, but their bit is a means it's a short form which they are using for while defining, but they are using the full names here.
Got it.
Okay, so you can see they are using varchar there, but here they are using string
Mhm.
for email ID.
Yeah.
So it's internal. Okay, so
Mm.
disable post, I'll remove the disable post enter. And there is an on change property. So suppose I have a requirement that when I'm changing the value of this particular
Mhm.
salutation, suppose first it was Mr. Now I'm changing it to Mrs. Okay, while
Mhm.
changing, I want to run some logic in the backend. Okay, so that logic I can call it from here.
Got it.
Okay, while changing, suppose some data I need, when I'm changing some data, right, I need to check some validation. Okay, all
Mhm.
those stuff I can do it here. I can run that logic before changing.
Okay.
So these are the few properties with which the post on change works, and you know the difference of post on change and reflection, and when and in which cases we have to use those.
Mhm.
So you will have a value property. You have to define the triggering IDs, and with each triggering ID, there would be corresponding value property, which you can make use of to create the calculation.
Mhm.
Okay. So here you can see an example that they have these many fields: timeliness, communication. These are the scores. Now you want to calculate the total score. So what you have done is you have enabled the reflection in the total score, and you have specified the trigger IDs here. Okay. After that, you have created a method. Here you are not directly calling the creating the complex logic, my calculation of the logic. Rather, what you have done is you have created a method inside which you have your logic in place. Okay,
Mhm.
you are passing the value 1, value 2, value 3, value 4 as parameters, which will contain the value of all the triggering IDs, and based on the summation of all, and that value will be stored to the particular field which you will be mentioning here. Okay, so these are the some major differences between client reflection and targeted post on change. So I'll create a new field in AB contact dot etx file.
Mhm.
Okay, and I'll give a column, and I'll give the name as sorry. I need to give this field in the person entity, right? Yeah, I
Mhm.
need to give it in the person entity. I'll remove it from here. I'll go to the AB person dot etx. So you can see I have .eti file, and that .eti file is out of the box. So what I
Mhm.
have to do now? You tell me what should be my
Create
next step.
underscore ATX.
Yes, yes. So I will create an ETX file just for that one field.
Mhm. So unless it's a new entity altogether, you don't create it with underscore ext, right?
Yes.
For extending the out of the box, it's just you do it with .etx. But if it's a totally new entity, then you
Yes.
append that underscore etx.
I need to give here. I need to give underscore ETX. Because I'm giving this is the custom entity which I'm creating, right?
It's not the custom entity, right? It's a AB person. You're extending the entity.
I'm extending the AV person entity. That's correct.
Yeah. So you don't have to give underscore ext, right? It's just
But
.etx.
not in entity. I need to give in the fields, right?
Yeah, in the field. Yeah.
Yeah. I need to give that in the fields. Like suppose I am giving the salutation here, so I'll give it salute.
Yeah. Salutation underscore ext. Yeah.
Okay. So where location true. I need to start my server by because this is a data model
Mhm.
change. Stores. Okay. So I have to give the column param also, and I'll give the size because this
Mhm.
is a varchar. Give 5. Okay, now my field is ready.
Mhm.
I'll just change the name here from salutation underscore ext. Okay,
Yeah.
and I'll change the prefix also here, visibility as salutation underscore ext and salutation underscore ext. So if salutation is none, prefix should be visible. Should be and condition here, right? If
Mhm.
these both conditions satisfies, then I need to show the prefix, right?
I think it will be or, right? Because it can be null, but still have a empty string. In that case, it will still show. So it would be or.
Yeah, yeah, sorry. It would be or. So if this condition is false, then this particular will not show. If this condition is true, this condition is true, then both will be shown, right? Salutation
Mhm.
and prefix. Then
Yeah.
both will be shown. Correct?
Yeah.
in that case, but I just need only one. So I will put a visibility condition here also.
Mhm.
I'll put the visibility condition on this field if salutation not equal to none. Okay. You understood why I kept this, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So now I think it should work properly. Debug server. Because I've done the data model changes. So if you want to define a variable in Gosu, right? How you have to do it? You have to, there are two ways. One way is directly initializing the variable, like with the var keyword. Okay, var variable name, and then this is the string. You are directly initializing it. And if you want to see the data type of this string, right, this variable, right, you just need to click on the variable, then click on Control Q. It will show you. You can see you haven't specified everywhere that string is the data type of this variable, but it will take automatically because you already assigned a string value.
Mhm.
But if you don't want to initialize anything, but you just want to define, declare the variable. So
Mhm.
you have to declare it with the var keyword again. Suppose last name you want to declare. Okay. So you will be declaring with colon, and then you have to specify the variable type. Okay.
Mhm.
So here you can see you have not specified the initialized the variable. You have just defined it, but here you have initialized it.
Mhm.
Okay. So these are the two ways how you initialize or define the variable.
Okay. And if I want to define an integer, it will be int age equal
It will
to.
be int.
No, if I directly want to
You can directly
initialize the
equal to
value,
see like this.
so it will be still var. It's not int.
So if you click on here, and var is the common keyword. So whatever the variable type would be, you will have to use var.
Okay.
Okay. Var means variable. Okay. So
Mhm.
if
So
you want,
if I want to define the var as boolean, var last name, how will I give the boolean value?
true. If you want to define, if you want to declare, just declare. Then you
Mhm.
want have to use this property. I mean, so you need to define the data type like this.
Mhm.
Okay. Now you have this, so you can initialize like you can use this variable equal to true. Okay, like this. But if with the initialization, if you want with the declaration you want to initialize also, you can directly give this value. Okay.
Okay.
So if you click on here and then click Control Q, it will give you Boolean value
Control
automatically. Control Q.
Q. Control
Control
Q.
Q will show you the documentation.
Mhm.
Okay. So if you click on AB contact, so if you want to see the documentation of AB contact, right, you can click Control Q. So it will give you the documentation of it. What
Okay.
this throws, it throws null pointer exception. What is the return type of this particular, okay, class, all those things it will show. As it's shown, right? AB company is an entity.ab company.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay. And it shows it for error handling, it throws null pointer exception if there is no current bundle.
Mhm.
I'll be explaining the bundle concept in later classes. So
Mhm.
so this is one. Suppose if you want to create an object. Okay, so you know, right? AB contact, AB person, AB company, all these entities are creating the classes in the application layer, right?
Mhm.
So if you want to create an object of all these entities, suppose you want to create an object of AB company, right? So what is the syntax of that? So AB company, you can create, you can use the var keyword, then variable name, and then
Mhm.
equal to, with the new keyword, you can create the object.
Okay.
Okay. In Java, you have to define the define this here as well, AB company, right?
Yeah.
But here you don't need to define it here. You can directly variable name equal to with the new keyword, you can define the object. And now
Mhm.
once you have defined the object with this name, so you can print any property of the AB company
Mhm.
with the dot notation.
Okay.
So suppose this tax ID, I need to print so it will be printed. So this is how object is defined, and
Mhm.
classes objects is also defined in the same way. Okay, so my server is started. Okay, I went to the detail section here. Okay, I updated. Okay, now it is updating. You can see prefix is not there, right?
Mhm.
Because I have updated the missed salutation. So prefix is removed because visibility condition returns false for that. Okay,
Mhm.
and if I'll just remove it, then prefix will be visible. Prefix is visible here, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, what I will do is I'll make the prefix editable. I have made it an editable, right? So I need to make it editable. So that I can put some value there as well. Okay, so that's how the post on change works.